ladies and gentlemen, all the viewers out there, this is a special interaction which we have planned for all the attendees of Aditya Birla Voyage 2021. Remember, this is the most marquee platform where we bring for all our viewers and partners of Aditya Birla Mutual Fund some of the best names in their fields, top thinkers, and when we ideate every year from this platform on how things are likely to pan out in the world, in various fields, or even in the area of investing. Remember, this has been a very difficult year and a very strange and surprising year for many reasons. First, the unfortunate advent of COVID, and then the speed at which we humans really cope with it and rebound. In fact, equally sharp was the market rebound, India as well as globally. The surge of even the retail investors, which this time around even bought the dip to a certain extent. And of course, the numbers are increasing with each passing day. Today, we have someone who is not only a professional money manager, but more than that, actually a world-acclaimed, globally acclaimed author and a very passionate value investor. And our dear friend, Gautam Baid, is joining us today. Of course, his book, Joys of Compounding, is something which is making waves globally, not only in India. And Gautam is a dear friend who is joining us today to help our viewers and all the participants and partners of Aditya Birla Mutual Fund how one should become a better investor. This phenomenon of compounding your wealth over the long term. He's done some really great research. He's an ardent follower of Mr. Munger and Mr. Buffett. And today he will really cull out some gems from his research work. I call it a research work. It's a great book, which has got a lot of followers, to help everybody attending this session not to be jittery in the market and how to be a successful investor, have only long-term horizon and picture as an edge in mind, and not to have action bias, not to mix activity with progress. So I will not, come between you and Gautam, all our viewers. Gautam, it's a wonderful, such a pleasure to be chatting with you today. Please, go ahead and start your presentation.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Ajay. It is great to be with you on this year's edition of Voyage. Please note that the views expressed in this presentation reflect my personal analysis and opinion, and not that of my employer firm. Please do your due diligence and consult your advisor before acting on this analysis. I would like to begin with a brief discussion on the essence of compounding. Albert Einstein had defined compound interest as the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who does not understand it pays it. This is how compounding looks like in real life. Self-improvement is the ultimate form of investing in oneself. It requires devoting time, money, attention, and hard effort now for a payoff later, sometimes in the far distant future. A lot of people are unwilling to make this trade-off because they crave instant gratification and desire instant results. These short-term costs, when applied the right way along an axis of time, offer an exponential payoff when applied over a long life. That is how you get to experience the J-curve effect as shown in this particular graph. But before that, most people have to undergo and experience what is known as the valley of disappointment. It's because in the initial years, in spite of putting in a lot of hard work and effort, they have little tangible or concrete results to show for all that they do. Never give up after putting in the hard work and effort, because compounding bestows its benefits on you only after a long time, after testing your patience and conviction to the fullest. This is true not only in business and investing, but also in life and relationships. So how does one develop the tenacity and the resilience to get through this initial tough and challenging phase? You do that by finding your North Star. When you find your North Star, that is the most important thing that sets your life's course. You finally learn where you're headed. And that is such a good feeling. It is fine for your North Star to change over time, but whatever it is right now, let it guide you. Your North Star is highly meaningful and vital in your personal context. So aiming towards this beacon of light will bring great happiness to you every day. Former world heavyweight boxer Ed Latimore once tweeted, "When you can use your skills to make a difference in someone's life and get paid for it, that's the happy life." when you're passionate about it as well, that's a calling. The feeling is almost divine. And how does one get to experience this divine feeling? By discovering your ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese concept meaning a reason for being, and it refers to the convergence of four primary elements: what you love, your passion, what the world needs, your mission, what you're good at, your vocation, and what you can get paid for, your profession. I've talked about various aspects of compounding in my book, including compounding positive thoughts, compounding good health, compounding good habits, compounding knowledge, compounding goodwill. Today, I will specifically talk about compounding wealth. The key to compounding is time and endurance. Morgan Housel very aptly wrote that good investing isn't necessarily about earning the highest returns, because the highest returns tend to be one-off hits that kill your confidence when they end. It's about earning pretty good returns that you can stick with for a long period of time. That's when compounding runs wild. In a similar vein, Warren Buffett once wrote that the first thing to realize is that it takes a long time. I started when I was 11. Accumulating money is a little like having a snowball going downhill. It's important to have a very long hill. I've had a 56-year hill. It's important to work in sticky snow, and you need a little snowball to start with, which I got from delivering the post actually. It's better if you are not in too much of a hurry and keep doing sound things. Now here, I would like to mention that the investor community in India's domestic mutual fund industry have not been doing sound things recently. Since July 2020, we have had 6 straight months of outflows from domestic equity mutual funds, including an outflow of almost 13,000 crores in November 2020 and more than 10,000 crores in December 2020. What is the reason behind such behavior from these investors? MS Venkatesh, CEO at AMFI, recently remarked that outflows from equity-linked funds have continued because markets are at all-time highs and investors are booking profits and choosing to stay on the sidelines. Another market commentator, Kirtan Shah, remarked that a lot of people have been calling us to book profit. Retail investors are pulling out money. A lot of them are getting out because after seeing such a dramatic fall, they are now seeing some money come back. And they are unsure whether these levels are sustainable. Probably worried that there will be a big fall. What financial advisors really need to do is educate their clients and customers that downside volatility in the stock market is frequent and as normal as day following night and night following day. Look at this particular chart showing the maximum intra-year drawdown in the Nifty since 1991, the era of liberalization. We have had drawdowns ranging from 60% in 2008, 46% in 1992, 40% in 2001, and most recently, in last year, we had a drawdown of 38%. But did all this interim sharp downside volatility make any difference to the long-term business performance of the wealth creators? No. Because investing is all about identifying great businesses with high quality earnings growth and capital allocation and firmly holding on to them as long as they exhibit these characteristics. The stock markets do not really matter over the long run when you invest in such businesses, and most important, stay the course. Let me illustrate this with the help of the example on this slide. If an investor had invested in a basket of good to great businesses near the peak of the previous bull market in January 2008 and held on to near the end of the subsequent bear market in 2013, he would have created a lot of wealth for himself. But if the same investor had invested in a basket of bad or gruesome businesses, then he would have lost a lot of wealth. The key message here is that great businesses create wealth across market cycles, irrespective of negative macro headlines like high interest rates, rising inflation, geopolitical tension, political uncertainty, and weak macroeconomic data points. Gruesome businesses eventually destroy wealth, irrespective of whether the headlines are positive or negative. It is a futile attempt to try to time the market and try to hop in and out to eke out that extra big bit of return. Howard Marks, in his memo to Oaktree clients in February 1993, said that the average annual return on equities from 1926 to 1987 was 9.44%. But if you had gone to cash and missed the best 50 of those 744 months, you would have missed all of the return. This tells me that attempts at market timing are a source of risk, not protection. Investors need to bear the periodic bouts of downside volatility as the price to be paid for earning superior returns from equities. Time in the market matters, not timing the market. The ability to keep investing at regular intervals, to stay the course through thick and thin, ups and downs, and bull markets and bear markets, and to not worry where the markets are going tomorrow or next week or next month is what matters. According to a study done by Sage One Investment Advisors, even though the Sensex went up 251 times between 1979 and 2017, if you missed just 7% of the best months or 1% of the best days, your returns would have been zero. So, what is the big message that we take away from all this? It is to stay the course and maintain the faith in equities as a long-term wealth creating asset class. I've talked about the same in my book as well, that compounding is a lifelong journey, and an individual's impatience with his or her investment process could lead to a fatal decision and bring the journey to an abrupt end. Stay the course and remain faithful to your personal investment philosophy and your individual process. Focus is the key to success. Low and negative return years are a routine part of the investing game. You have to be present in this game for a long time to win. The key is to avoid getting thrown out midway because of reckless decisions. If we continue to earn above average returns over long periods of time and avoid permanent loss of capital in bear markets, the magic of long-term compounding ultimately will take care of the outcome. What does this magic of long-term compounding referring to? And how can it help us achieve financial independence? In his famous November 2018 talk, veteran Dalal Street investor Ramesh talked about the incredible power of compounding. In that talk, he referred to the rule of 72, which I've talked about in my book as well. And I quote, according to the rule of 72, we double our capital every 3 years by compounding at 26%, 10 times in 10 years, and 100 times in 20 years. Once you have achieved financial independence, it is important to realign your portfolio to have the majority weight in high quality businesses. After reaching a state of financial prosperity in life, ensure that you take all necessary steps to avoid being thrown back to the starting position. Achieving success and then losing everything has a far greater emotional impact than failing before ever having achieved success. Time is power in investing. Let me illustrate this with the help of an example from my book. Paul is 18 years old. He gets an after-school job and opens a Roth IRA or a savings account in which he saves $5,000 per year and continues doing this till he turns 70 years old. Paul is a know-nothing investor, invests in cheap, low-cost index funds, dollar-cost averages, reinvests his dividends, and earns the same nominal return that the US market has earned for the last century, which is around 10%. As a result, Paul ends up with a little more than $7 million in wealth. Paul's friend Peter is also 18 years old. He also gets an after-school job, but he doesn't save anything as he wants to engage in instant gratification and conspicuous consumption during his fun years. Peter waits till he's 30 years old, at which point he opens a retirement account, saves $5,000 per year in it, and then does all the same things as Paul. Now note, at this particular point of time, Peter is only $60,000 in total contributions behind Paul, and he still has 40 years ahead of him. So he figures it isn't too bad. When Peter reaches retirement though, he has only $2.2 million with him. So as you can see, a very $60,000 difference between Paul and Peter in cumulative investment turned into a $4.8 million difference in net worth. This example shows, as John Bogle would call it, the relentless rules of humble arithmetic. There is a mathematical equation for wealth creation, and it goes like this. Add to your savings every month, subtract and eliminate biases, greed, and wasteful expenses, like taxes, brokerage, and statutory charges. Multiply your time horizon. Divide across asset classes as appropriate for your stage in life and your personal circumstances, and achieve the exponential power of compounding. The way to wealth is to buy right and hold on. By doing so, an investor minimizes paperwork, transaction costs, and capital gains taxes. To reap genuine riches, one needs to invest in long-term winners and hold on for compounded tax-free growth. No more effective tax haven exists than unrealized appreciation in a long-lived, soundly growing company. Compounding combined with patience is an incredible force over time. In the course of our daily lives, we treat a 2% charge as a small amount. In the world of investing, however, 2% is a huge deal. It has the potential to change your life completely. Benjamin Franklin very aptly said, "Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship." To illustrate the huge impact a tiny 2% of savings in frictional costs can make in the long run, let's assume that you invest $30,000 today for 40 years in 3 fixed income instruments yielding 7%, 9%, and 11% respectively. At 7%, you would end up with $0.4 million in wealth. At 9%, you will end up with $0.9 million. And at 11%, you will end up with $2 million. And now it is the turn of equities, the greatest long-term wealth creating asset class. This graph shows what would happen if you invested the same $30,000 in a portfolio of high quality stocks with 15% earnings growth and 2% dividend for a total of 17% return. In this case, you would end up with more than $16 million in final net worth. This is compounding wealth in action, and it shows the incredible wealth creation potential of equities in the long run. And mind you, in our example, we assume that you did not make even a single additional contribution throughout your earning years. Just imagine how your compounding engine will skyrocket once you make regular contributions too. The final figure then becomes truly astonishing. The effects of compounding are too small to be noticed until they are too large to be ignored. Instead of treating dividends as free money and engaging in mental accounting, investors should resist instant gratification and always reinvest their dividends. Reinvesting your dividends through a dividend reinvestment plan is a great way to take maximum advantage of the power of long-term compounding. A dividend reinvestment plan automatically uses your dividends to buy more shares of the holdings in your portfolio. You should enroll for the dividend reinvestment option. You gain the benefit of dollar cost averaging, and after enough years go by, the benefits accrue in the form of higher dividends that may be a multiple of the original investment. This is the power of compound interest. In addition to earning returns on the money you invest, you also earn returns on those returns over time. This compound growth is what causes your wealth to snowball over time. When we reinvest dividends, we enjoy the power of double compounding or compound interest on steroids. I would like to conclude with a key message from my book that the goals of investment should be happiness, joy, growth, intellectual satisfaction, and eventually peace and serenity. Wealth and financial prosperity are natural byproducts of lifelong learning. For any feedback or queries, feel free to connect with me on thejoysofcompounding.com. I can also be reached on LinkedIn and Twitter. With that, I come to the end of my presentation, Ajay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gautam, for that insightful presentation at Voyage 2021. It's amazing to have you, and our viewers and participants would have benefited a lot from the insights which you painstakingly put together in the book Joys of Compounding. I have some queries. I've actually, as they say, the best way of grasping a book is to rereading it, and I have reread your book and really enjoyed it better than the first time. Some queries on behalf of some of my friends out there who are listening to you and from myself. There are times in the market when the market really tests the durability of your portfolio and the strength of your conviction. Many of our friends and us as well went through that time in 2020, be it March, April, May, June period, that should I liquidate everything and turn to cash and feel safe, or even now, all the way from October, November to now, when the feeling is that the market is at all-time high, my portfolio is doing well, should I book profit? All this kind of a jitteriness in our mind which comes, and what are your thoughts? What kind of research, insights can you share from your book and from your experience on how to have a strong, durable portfolio and build a even stronger conviction around it?
That's a very good question, Ajay. Investors can be best prepared to survive the inevitable periodic severe corrections in bear markets during their lifetime by ensuring that they have tennis balls or high quality businesses and not bad quality junk stocks or eggs which splatter after hitting the floor. In a market crash, both quality and junk fall. Quality eventually rises again and junk never recovers. Many individuals make large paper fortunes in a bull market but lose all of it when the bear market eventually arrives. How much you are able to recover after the market recovery from a bear market is far more important than how much paper profit you make in a bull market. And quality of the business matters the most in retaining long-term wealth. At this stage, I would again like to re-emphasize that after reaching a state of financial independence, it is very important to realign your portfolio to have the majority weight in high-quality businesses. And the key to a lifetime of investment success is not to make brilliant or complex decisions. It is to avoid doing foolish things. After reaching a state of financial prosperity in life, ensure that you take all steps to avoid being thrown back to the starting position. Always keep in mind that quality of the business, and integrity of the management matter the most in creating and more important in retaining the hard and long-term wealth.
Mhm. Gautam, you also mentioned in your book the importance of associating yourself from the right kind of people in the field of investing, perhaps more mature and wiser, and who have spent more time uh, through the cycles, so that one can learn and compounding knowledge of sorts. If I were to just take it a step further, for a lot of our mutual fund investors watching this, to seek regular counsel of your investment manager or planner as well. What is the importance of that? To be regularly having a sounding board in this entire lifelong game of investing, as they say.
Yes, Ajay, it's a very, very important life lesson that the more you reach out to and associate with people who are better and smarter than you, the more you will learn and the faster you will improve. If you are the smartest person in the room, then you are in the wrong room. It is wiser to be with better people and feel uncomfortable than to restrict yourself to a mediocre circle just to feel comfortable. For example, if it were not for the generous help and guidance of my investor friends and colleagues, then my personal portfolio would never have been able to hold up as well as it did during the bear market in India from January 2018 to March 2020. I hope to always keep learning from them, just like I did last year in 2020 when I got to learn about investing in differential voting rights, warrants, and partly paid shares for the first time in my investing career. And all of them turned out to be highly profitable. The key message here is that the people closest to you play an outsized role in your level of success or failure. So choose wisely. You are, after all, the average of the five people you spend the most of your time in life.
Right, Gautam. But let's take a leaf out of your personal experience. I will not discuss your portfolio, but I'm curious, and I want to know how was your own investing experience in 2020? It was one of its kind event not seen in 100 years. Uh, how did you go about navigating through? And also the question which is appearing in many minds right now: what do I do? Markets are so elevated. Uh, that kind of nervousness. What are your thoughts?
Well, let me share my biggest learning from 2020 first. That it simply reinforced what I've learned over the years that devastating events can occur in the markets at any time, and they will happen again without any warning. Don't set boundaries that might limit what the market might do. You should expect the unexpected in this business, expect the extreme. And one of the biggest realizations I've had over the years is that the unexpected and seemingly impossible continue to happen frequently. This is why reading history and studying human behavior during past episodes of panic and euphoria in the markets is so valuable for an investor. Voltaire rightly said, history never repeats itself. Man always does. And just to describe about my own experience last year, and where how where am I finding opportunities right now. So just like I said earlier, just remain invested because time in the market with great businesses matter. If you just zoom out and take a long-term view, then all these big crashes just look like blips in the long-term chart of equity returns in India over the last 30 years. So just it's important to stay the course. That's really the biggest lesson. And one more big lesson which I've learned over the years is that there is always a bull market which is going on at all times in the stock market in some specific sectors. If you ask me right now, where am I finding opportunities in the Indian market? I can name many of them. For example, consumer electronics, manufacturing outsourcing, CDMO, CMO, animal healthcare, cloud computing, building materials, auto ancillaries and import substitution plays which have completed large capex. Those are some of the very promising thematic opportunities present in the market right now.
I'd like to take a step back towards temperament and behavior because that actually influences a large part of your return which you make in your lifetime. Gautam, I know you have conducted very deep research while putting this work together, which is the book Joy of Compounding, and in daily life too, being a research-oriented person. What are the biases which impact investors, and it may impact early investors or even established investors many times? Some of the big biases which one should be conscious of that they don't develop in our own mind, like action bias. That feeling that constantly if I'm doing something, it means my it's a positive and we are progressing, or any other which you have observed which people should stay away from?
Sure. So one of the biases you have already mentioned is do something bias. They need to constantly engage in action and look busy and productive. But investing is a field in which success can come from simply reading, thinking, observing the world around you, and doing nothing more than making an occasional phone call to your broker to execute the order. In investing, less is more. And the less money the brokers make, the more money investors make. So basically, you need to reduce your activity. As regards the most insidious behavioral biases which affect investors, I would term recency bias as one. Basically, projecting the recent past of bad returns or good returns infinitely into the future. The world is a cyclical place, and everything seems linear till it is not. So we cannot predict the future, but we can definitely understand where we stand in the cycle. That's why having a very good understanding of market cycles is valuable for an investor. Another behavioral bias which affects investors is anchoring bias. You should not just hold on to a stock with worsening fundamentals in the merry hope that somehow things will get better. Always embrace and acknowledge reality for what it is, because the great investors are active seekers of truth. If something has gone wrong with the story, just sell the stock and move on to a better one. There is an endless stream of opportunities in the stock market at all points of time.
Gautam, you interact with some of the top-notch investors globally. If you were to tell us about one global investor and one domestic Indian investor who has really been very instrumental in influencing the way your thinking has developed over years, who would that be? And if you could tell a little bit about that particular investor and what you learned.
Well, if you just think about the global investors, it has to be Warren Buffett. And over the years, I've come to learn that the best things to learn from Warren Buffett have got nothing to do with investing. It's about living a fulfilling and meaningful life. That is what my book really talks about. That how the actual life of a true value investor. It's about living a life of integrity, principles, and values, and engaging in lifelong learning. That those are the attributes which Buffett has instilled in me. And from India, I would name two investors, Mr. Bharat Shah and Mr. Utpal Seth, both of whom have educated me on the principles of value creation. I'm really thankful to them for all that they've taught to the investor community over the years.
Right. Okay, so one parting word from you, Gautam. If there's one advice you would want to leave our viewers today from Voyage 2021 of Ichinow and Birla AMC puts together every year, what would that one piece of learning would be, the gist of the entire experience and research which you've done so far to become a better investor?
Well, I would share not one but two learnings, Ajay, actually.
Sure.
That the great things in life come from compound interest. So take a long-term view and never give up. The second is always learn from everyone else throughout life and embrace everlasting humility to succeed in this endeavor.
All right, Gautam, thanks so much for your presentation and the chat for Voyage 2021. It was really very enriching chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time and for making Voyage 2021 a great success. With that, I'll hand it over to my colleague at Birla.
Thank you, Ajay. It was a pleasure.